Electrocast.
Why wait to see if you'll get something you like this Valentine's Day when you can go to BlueNile.com and find something you'll love? Whether you're looking to treat yourself to a little winter sparkle or show a galentine how much you appreciate them, Blue Nile offers a wide selection of high-quality designs, expert guidance, and free 30-day returns for the ultimate peace of mind. You can even design your own jewelry. Right now, save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
On this episode of Missing the Point, we're joined once again by professional MMA fighter Hilarie Rose. We'll talk to Hilarie about her upcoming main event matchup for the strawweight title at CFFC 97, Reed vs. Rose this Memorial Day weekend. We'll discuss her decision to take on another fight just 7 weeks after her last victory, her thoughts on being the underdog despite a more impressive resume, and we'll discuss mental health as May is Mental Health Awareness Month. This is Missing the Point, episode 62. But it's all relative.
Welcome to Missing the Point. I'm your host, Michael Marcangelo, joined alongside by DK Sizzle Dave Clarke. And today we have a very special friend of the show returning to talk all things MMA, including her fight for the CFFC Strawweight Championship against Elise Reed on May 29th at CFFC 97. Please welcome Hilarie Rose. Hilarie, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Championship week.
Woo.
It's here.
How are the nerves?
The nerves are good. Once you're here, nerves kick in, but they don't kick in. Once I meet my opponent or see her, I guess I'll feel better. But I mean, I'm definitely nervous because obviously I'm fighting for a belt. So there's a few more rounds and a little extra time.
Same routine though, right? Same CFFC routine.
Yep. Still same.
So that's good.
Yep.
So it feels like the last couple episodes, last time that you were on last month before your fight against Alana Arnett, we caught you during weight cutting time. What's that process looking like this time?
We're back again. So I won't have too bad of a cut. I kind of had a tough cut last time, but that's just because I mentally wasn't there. I didn't want to cut weight, but my weight's low. So I'm hoping I'll wake up pretty low and not have to sweat too much and can just show up, weigh in and go eat some food.
Yeah. I think it makes the most sense for us to start with your last fight. We had you on before you were taking on Alana Arnett, and man, it is so badass the way
that was awesome.
I mean,
that was so cool.
A TKO by leg strikes? Are you kidding me?
What a cool thing to have on your resume, huh?
It was definitely cool. My coach had always wanted one of his students to do that. So as soon as it was over, he was like, yeah, you got me the win and you got the, I was like, yeah.
Because you had talked about on the show, which you can find in the show notes, that you wanted to strike first.
Yeah.
And oh shit, did you? And you just didn't stop. So is that the new Hilarie that we can expect?
No matter what, I'm going to come out with some sort of leg kick probably, because again, that's just always what seems to happen. But this girl throws a lot of kicks too. She's very, very kicky. Yeah. I think that she's going to almost allow me to be first. So I don't I think she's not going to put pressure on me like Cheyenne did. And she's not going to be grappling heavy like Alana was. She's a Taekwondo chick and she moves around a lot. She kind of likes to counter strike. So I think that she's kind of going to want to throw with me, but she's going to kind of use her offense with leg kicks, not leg kicks, but head kicks. She likes to throw head kicks. So we'll see how it goes.
Just got to watch that range. You got to watch that head kick range. Then, just get inside and do work. I can't wait.
It looks like she hits relatively hard, but I mean, we're in a fight. It's the admission that you pay, fight. I'm going to get hit eventually, but her kicks are much faster. I think that's that Taekwondo style. She has really fast kicks. I think that's, what she uses, but she moves a lot. She has that Wonder Boy kind of style where she's kind of always going side to side. So we'll see how it goes. I just kind of have to not get caught up in her chase, and we're adding extra rounds now. So hoping that, I don't try to finish too early and like waste some energy. And then I'm, smart and play the game smart.
And she's gone the distance every fight, every one of her pro fights so far?
No, her first pro fight, she got a finish. And then her second pro fight was for the belt. And it was only 3 rounds. And then she fought in December for to defend the belt, and she went all 4 rounds. So what it is it's 4 5-minute rounds. And then if it's like even 2 and 2, then it goes to like a sudden death round.
That's wild.
So
that's cool.
5-minute rounds.
So how does I have this is a couple questions rolled into one. So I apologize right off the bat.
No.
How does preparing for a longer fight in a shorter period of time, what does that do to your camp? Because you've only had 8 weeks, right?
Oh my gosh, I don't even think so. I think we found out maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks after I fought. So maybe we've had 6, 5-ish weeks. But it was a lot of just cardio intake. So my strength and conditioning program was a lot more cardio based. And then you prep, you do 5-minute rounds. So we go 5-minute rounds. And then my last sparring was just 4 or 5-minute rounds. So yeah, you just kind of practice and see. I definitely was a little frustrated at the beginning of camp because, I have a teammate who kind of fights her style and, trying to figure it out and not waste energy. It's wasting energy because I want to chase them down, but then they move all the time. So then I'm trying to throw all these hard ass strikes, but really I just kind of have to be patient. And I think if I'm patient and I feel it out, then I'll, be able to see the openings and, land the strikes that I want to strike and just be smart and keep my hands up. And I think I'll be good to go.
You don't think grappling at all? You think you're gonna try and pull her around?
I mean, I definitely have a grappling advantage on her, but I also think that me trying to I watched some of the other fights of girls who fought her and they chase her down so much to get a takedown. I don't want to waste that energy. So I think if I get the opportunity, she's against the cage, I don't think I'll shoot for a double leg or anything like that. I think if it's on the cage, then I'll maybe, work for the takedown if I feel like it's there. I mean, I definitely feel like I can beat her on the ground, but she moves a lot. Even on the ground, she's always striking and moving, but she gives up position that I think other girls didn't take advantage of. So we'll see.
I remember, because I want to preview this fight, but we have to give the last one its credit, right? Because when you were on our show, I asked you a pretty tough question. I said, if you were Alana, would you have taken this fight? And you said no. So now knowing what we all know, how you TKO'd her, yeah. I guess if you're her, how do you rebound from that? Where do you go next? Because it was a fast finish. It was pretty decisive.
Yeah.
And the entire fight was very one-sided also.
Yeah.
What will be good for her is that she probably won't have to fight someone who has as much experience next. She'll be able to fight someone who's maybe, 1-0 or, 2-1. So she'll probably get someone who's more at her level where, she took advantage of getting a fight in. And I think it's probably was a really good learning experience for her. I mean, as well as myself, I learned a lot from that fight too. She actually hit me harder than Cheyenne and many strikes, but Cheyenne hit me a whole bunch. And Cheyenne probably threw her hardest strike at me, but I mean, Cheyenne also hits hard. I can't take that away from her either, but that girl hit me harder than Cheyenne. You watch me in the fight and I grab my nose and I'm oh shit, my fucking shit broken. So I think that, she was just trying to get at me, to take me down, which, is smart. But I think I was able to really dictate the pace because I knew that she wanted to take me down and I had better striking. So I never felt tired. So I'm hoping it'll feel, the same way once I'm out there. I hate the idea that, being a main event is really cool, but I'd rather fight first and get it over with.
Yep.
So now I'll just
that's the champion. It's unfortunately the lot you have now because you're at the top of the card. So it is what it is. Get used to it.
Again.
So my question would be before we preview this fight against Elise, if this wasn't a championship fight, would you have taken it on such short notice?
The thing is, I ideally wanted to fight July 3rd. So
right.
3rd is when their next event is, but I also didn't want to lose out on an opportunity. I think my management is hoping that I can maybe get on Contender again. I would have definitely liked more time just because it was a style that I am not used to, but I think that I trained really smart for that and it worked out really well. And I think that I'm prepared, but extra time is good time, but I'm after this fight, I'm in no rush to take a fight right away. I think that my management maybe will want me to, but I kind of just want to chill a little for the summer and rest. I have lingering injuries that like aren't going to really affect me in the fight, but I just like to rest a little bit and, recover, where like this last fight, I really didn't get that opportunity. It was, I took like a week off and then it was like, all right, we're back in camp again.
Yeah, I can imagine that, going from fight to fight, especially last time you were on, you did mention that you wanted to have a couple more fights this year, but you did not forecast one coming 7 weeks later. So that's crazy. And you're going against someone who goes the distance. I want to talk a little bit about some comments that Elise did make about you, because I thought it's funny to kind of tap into the mind of a fighter, right? So Elise Reed, when watching your fight against Alana Arnett, said after it was done, it was like, quote, okay, so we've got ourselves a matchup. I've been very fortunate that we were able to put it together and that Hilarie is open to fighting, 8 weeks or 7 or after her last one. She's well-rounded. She's coming from the Contender Series. No fight at this point are going to be easy. So we're just looking for the next level. So she's talking you up.
Yeah. I think the thing about Elise is she's fought girls who have had, like she fought a girl, Jillian DeCourcy, who I fought as an amateur and lost to, actually. So, that girl was 4-2 or like 5-2 when she fought, and then she fought a girl who was 4-0 or 4-1 before that, Jasmine. So she's not afraid of taking fights against girls who are very experienced. And I think she knows that her taking really good fights and beating people who have experience is going to kind of move her up in a good way. And I don't think she's in any rush to get anywhere, but I think she knows that I'm going to definitely come to fight. And I'm really curious, what her game plan to fight me is. Like, I know she has Taekwondo kicks and things like that. So I'm curious if she's going to like try to throw some spinning back kicks. And I'm intrigued on how like the first initial, like, we meet the middle is going to be. So I'm definitely interested. I've heard that she doesn't like when her opponents like kind of back up a little more. I think she likes when they kind of put a little pressure on her because she likes to counter strike. But I'm also like nervous. Like, how's this fight going to go to begin? Like, how it's always that initial like interaction.
Yeah.
I know you said you had a training partner that was kind of like her, but you've never really fought anybody like her before, right?
No, never. So it's definitely a new challenge for me also. So the thing is getting, someone like that in my books and like fighting someone who has that kind of a style. Like, I don't think she's going to try to grapple me even at all. And, maybe she will. Maybe I hit her really hard and she goes for a takedown, or, she tries to get me down on the wall, fights a fight. But in any of her fights, you never see her take anybody down. I don't think that's her game plan for this fight. I think she knows I'm obviously probably a little more well-rounded on the ground than she is. But, you never know. I'm curious to see how strong she is too. That's always like the thing that I'm always surprised about after a fight is I'm like, oh, wow, they were really strong. So I'm curious what her thing. She like leaves for the army like the day after we fight.
Really?
For like boot camp thing. So she's probably, in good shape. So, I respect her for that too. Like, hopefully I don't hurt her and she can't go.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I did not know that. But I was reading, I was trying to do as much research on Elise as possible. Like, that you're my favorite, Hilarie. Like, that goes without saying. But so Elise is kind of using you as a stepping stone. And I say that because she's looking to beat someone that was on Dana White's Contender Series. That's what she said. She doesn't want to rush her way into UFC because she wants to make sure that once she's there, she stays. Yeah. So how does that factor into this? Because you are the biggest name in this fight, but she's the champion, right? That doesn't happen that often.
So, I think whoever is going to be fighting for the belt is probably going to be someone who has a few more fights on their record than her. She has this not weird, but like, she had one fight and then she was offered to fight for the belts for CFFC. So like, she kind of just was given an opportunity at an early stage. Like, this is going to be my 8th pro fight. And I was never offered a title fight until now, obviously, but all of her fights that she's had have been stepping stones. So like Jasmine was someone who was 4-1 and Jillian 5-2, who fought like half of her fights on Invicta, which is a very high level, all female promotion. So like, I totally get it. And, let her, use me as a stepping stone, but I'm also going to use her to take that belt.
It's pretty awesome. Just based on, I just like to think back to, I think last August is when we first spoke right before your Contender Series match, right? And to the majority of the people out there, like, even if you're an MMA fan, like, you weren't an unknown, but you were under the radar. But because of the Contender Series, now like, you are the name on this card. I also, again, did a little research. Did you know you are the #1 ranked New England woman fighter?
As of right now, yeah. No, I know that. People tell me that all the time and I never look it up. I don't know if you looked at like the winnings, but I'm like, 12% chance of winning this fight.
Oh, that was my next question. So way to bury the lead there. But I mean, pound for pound, number 1 in New England, number 22 in the United States out of 746, and number 4 in the Northeast. So it feels like just since last August, like your career is going in the right direction.
For sure. And again, I'm in no rush. Like if I win this title and then, win, lose, whatever, I'm in no rush to go to the UFC. I mean, if the UFC calls, I'm going to take the opportunity if the fight is right. I'm totally okay with defending the belt and getting a few more fights on my record, because just like her, I don't want to go in there and then have a short career. I want to get in there and be well prepared, to fight tough chicks. I'm going to be fighting people who are like me, who also have, a few more fights under their belts. But yeah, I we'll win this one and then we'll see what happens.
What does that target look like though? You're already the Contender Series girl in CFFC. Yeah. If you're the Contender Series girl and you're all the things Mike just said, and you're the champ, everybody's like, that target gets bigger. You know what I mean? So like it's the same thing that this girl you're fighting said. It's like you're the level of competition. You're never going to fight a girl like you just fought probably ever again. Right. So it's like, okay, now you test yourself against the best. You've got this target on your back. What's your attitude on that? Is that like a useful learning experience? Like you're like, okay, great. Like everyone I fight is good now. Everyone's got different styles. Everyone's established. Or is it this thing of like, oh my God, like give me a month. You know what I mean?
I know that, like, again, I'm never going to fight an Alana. Like I'm not going to be offered, a girl who's debuting ever again. And the thing is, I probably, even if I was, would accept that fight just because it's, the experience. I could feel the experience level while I was in there. I was the calmest I've ever been. And I think it was honestly really good because I was able to control the pace, or I never really been able to. I mean, when I fought Cheyenne was like, I am going to hit you and I'm going to come after you with everything I have. And like, didn't give me a chance to breathe, where, in that fight, I could take a step back. I could get back in the center. I could, readjust what I wanted to do. And, I never felt tired. I remember when the first round, like click, 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 I was like, oh shit, the first round's over now, which is obviously what I hope to go into this fight too. I want to, feel good and have good cardio. I mean, I know no matter what, I'm going to be fighting tough chicks, and like this girl's tough. Again, her style is new to me. So that's what I like about this fight, is that it's a new challenge. It's not like someone that I've ever fought before, and she's obviously undefeated, and, I want to take away that 0 and I want to have the belts. The belt isn't the biggest thing. I just want to win and put on a good performance and want people to, keep looking at me and want to keep watching me fight. So CFFC was a good promotion, and they're, been really, really good. But I always worry, like when you fight, she's a point fighter. Like she doesn't fight to finish. I'm not that I don't think that, but I mean, when you watch her fights, she's maybe had one finish and maybe a few as an amateur, but she's more like a lot of output. And, when you are in like someone's home territory and they land maybe a few more strikes that don't have as much significant meaning to them, they sometimes get that win. And that's like unfortunate, where that's happened to me before.
Well, you said she was a Taekwondo person, right?
Yeah.
So like I was a Taekwondo guy back in the day at like age 11, no big deal. But I did those tournaments, and that's what those are. They're just like, they got like even the equipment that you put on in Taekwondo. It's like, this right here's a point. This right here's a point. That's how they're trained. So when you get in.
And I don't think I don't take anything from her, but like in the amount of time from just like my last fight until now, like I'm drastically better. Like it's the amount of work that I put in specifically for this fight, but kind of my last fight into this fight, like we kind of just continued some of the things we were doing. Like obviously I had some frustrating moments, but like that's fight camp, but like it's the chase. If I don't get caught up in her chase, I think that I can dictate and see the openings really well. But of course I don't know that until Saturday. And if she hits me hard, then I'll probably try to take her down and grapple her. I don't know if you watched the fights over the weekend, but if I can get her down and Carlos Esparza that bitch.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't everything obviously, but sometimes pad hitting videos can give you a little insight. And I saw your last one that you put up and it looked sharp as hell. Cause like I've seen some of my favorite fighters, I'll see their pad work and I'll be like, ooh, I don't know. But I saw your last one and it looked like a level sharper than I've seen you, or maybe even a couple. So that got me pumped for the fight. I was like, okay, Hilarie's looking good. Like, let's go.
Low weight, like my weight's really low. So I'm thinking, all right, my weight's low. I'm at like 19, 120. Like if I put on pounds, I'm still gonna be fast. Like, and I watch her pad videos and I'm sure she punches hard, but I'm much faster with my hands. Obviously she has quick legs and quick kicks, whether it's body, head, leg, they're quick. And I know that. And I just have to, be aware, keep my hands up. And when she throws a kick, I need to throw my right hand, or I need to throw a strong, combination. I need to not throw single strikes. She kind of throws some single strikes, and I'm guilty of that too. So if I can throw combos and feints, like feints, just like, I don't know. Again, if you watch Rob Font over the weekend, he feints. He makes you react. If I can make
That was a great fight. I love that. I love that fight so much. I was all in on that.
I was screaming.
I saw Massachusetts, man.
So I just got to sell it. And if I can sell it, then, cause a reaction. I just need to, I'm really good at fainting and then not reacting. Like I can make her react and then I'm not taking advantage of that time. I'm just like going and then I'm like, oh, okay, made her react. Okay, now she's hitting me.
Mm-hmm. Set traps.
Yeah, being first. I just got to be first and be confident. I know I'm sharp and I know that my skill level and strength has grown so much in just like, 6, 7, 8 months. So I just got to be confident. And, once you're in there, you're in there. I mean, I'll be nervous up until that point, but once you're there, you're there. So it's all that matters.
As always, when we talk to Hilarie, right after we're done talking, I'm always like, okay, she's going to win. I feel great. I feel really good because I'm always nervous. But now I'm like, okay, I feel fine. She feels fine. I feel fine.
Like know someone who fights, like even like when my teammates or like even Rob, like, I mean, I'm not really close with Rob, but I train alongside him in like strength and conditioning and I see him all the time. So like, you're like so emotionally invested and you're like, if you watch them get hit, you're like, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you and Connor for me now at this point, like neck and neck. Cause I'm like, both times I just get very emotional.
On the same card. And then, you'll have to go to that one.
Soon.
I don't know. That would be too much.
You'll have to pull out your wallet and pay the money and go.
I mean,
definitely.
The way he's going, you might be higher up on the card than he will be, Hilarie. So like, I wouldn't really worry about.
Come on, Mike. Why does it always have to come down to this? If Hilarie headlined a Conor McGregor card, that would be amazing. We're obviously doing great if that's happened, so it's fine. You dick.
So my last question about this fight is, and it draws like cross-sport comparison, right? She's a point fighter, so she's a Mayweather, right?
Yeah.
How do you alter your game? Because you don't want to panic, right? You want to make sure that you don't put yourself in a bad position in order to get taken down or get knocked out with a head kick. So what happens? Do you just play her game and try to throw more combos, or is that something that you just figure out, 10 seconds into the first round?
So that's the biggest thing is, knowing that first initial exchange and like who's going to throw first. And I think when I watch all her fights, she's very similar to me where she throws like a leg kick. I think it's like her instinct defense mechanism. Like here's my range. I know my range. This is where I'm at. And I'm kind of the same exact way. I throw a leg kick or I throw like a up the middle kick. And she kind of does the same sort of thing, but she moves a lot. So knowing and like watching her videos, we were kind of watching like, all right, when she goes a little bit to this side, this is what she does. When she goes this way, she goes that. Like she usually throws strikes or she throws a kick off this. So, we were trying to have my teammates kind of simulate that and like kind of pick up on the timing. So again, it's just not getting caught in her chase and getting tired. I think that I could beat her even by points, but not chasing her down, like trying to throw with everything I have in order to hit her because she moves. So like, if I go with everything I have, she may see, I think she's going to be smart and can read the body really well because of Taekwondo. So, but she also is very like square. So like, I'm okay. Let me hit you in the body. Let me hit you in the head. But I also throw head kicks and leg kicks. I think that I'm the first person that she's also fighting who fights a lot striking wise with kicks and head kicks. So I'm curious to see what her defense would be on my end. I don't know if she's anticipating me grappling her or trying to push her to the cage or if we're going to stand in the middle and strike, but I feel like I can win either way. I feel like I can beat her in the hands. I'm faster, at least with my hands. I mean, she may have quicker kicks than me, but I think that my kicks have way more meaning. So I think when I'm kicking, you'll feel it where her kicks I'll feel and like, yeah, it's probably not going to feel great, but I think that she's going to feel my kicks.
What about catching one of them? Is that in the game plan?
Yeah, catching them. Well, I watched some interviews with her before and she had fought that Jillian DeCourcy chick who was a grappler and her coach had said they didn't want her to throw body kicks because I think she won't throw a lot of body kicks because she thinks I'm going to grab and like maybe try to take her down. But, habits are habits. So if you throw body kicks, or if she sees my body open, like she's going to instinctively throw a body kick. Like that's just what happens. It's like me too. Like I see a body, I'm going to kick it.
Ma'am, this is an Arby's.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm curious. I think she'll probably throw a few body kicks and see if I'll grab them. My coaches and I drilled that. We didn't drill a lot of like catching kicks and then, taking her down. It was more catch and let go and return with something. So my biggest thing is free. So when she hits me, I got to hit her back a few more times. If she kicks me, I got to kick her twice. So just nothing's free. You know, she's got to pay for everything.
So why do you think that she's projected? Now, again, we did this last time. You were projected as the favorite, so I need to be honest and do the same thing again. Why do you think she is projected to win? I mean, 86% of those that took this poll have her winning. 80% of that subset said that she's going to win by decision. Why do you think that's the case?
I think because earlier in my career, obviously, or even just still, I mean, Cheyenne, whatever, I haven't had many fights against people who had winning records. So I think because she has fought people who have more experience and have, you know, winning records, that people see that and they think, I think Elise beats her because she's beaten more people with winning records. And like, I can totally get that. I understand that, you know, I may have more fight and more cage experience, but I think, you know, fans and people who go on the internet and they see that I fought girls who are, you know, 2-4 or 1-3 and 3-3, that they think, all right, well, she hasn't fought people as tough. So I think that's what a lot of it is, because she's beating people who are 4-2 and 5-2 and whatnot, that they think she will win because she's fought people with more experience and is beating them.
You said that too. Last time we talked about this on the last episode, it's like the people that vote for that stuff are the fans, right? So when you take that poll and you're looking at a fight and say, like, you know, you look at the records, like you said, but then also she's already the champ. So people might lean towards picking her for that reason too. So it's like, nobody knows anything. Let's just see how it goes.
I think, you know, obviously we're all pulling for you here. You're a resident badass. So like, we're always going to root for you. I do want to segue into something that I think, you know, recently I've looked at that I feel like it's very important to you. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, right?
That's right.
So I wanted to say, you know, first of all, you've recently started talking about it in public, and you know, on one of your videos you said, you know, you did not want to do that people that see you every day didn't actually know how you were feeling, right? Because it was tough for you to understand how you were feeling on any given day. So my first thing is, how tough was it to start talking about it publicly, and what made you decide to do it?
So like today, 4 years ago, my cousin, who was 22 at the time, he committed suicide. Very shocking. Didn't, you know, leave a note. None of us understood why. He was like the goofiest, funniest kid that, you know, you would ever met. And I think that it kind of shell shocked me a little bit. And I, you know, struggling with my own mental illness, you know, like, I think that it's important to talk about it because there's people who don't talk about it at all and then are, you know, suffering and kind of putting on a front and like act as if that they're okay. And then you really have no idea. So I think trying to be open about it will help others be open about it. Many people reach out to me and, you know, also tell me that they were struggling, if they're afraid to talk about it and don't know how to, you know, be a voice to other people who are struggling. And like, even myself, like, I don't feel like I can always, you know, be a voice for other people when they're struggling or know the right thing to say, or even, you know, explain how I'm feeling. But I think that it's important to talk about. And, you know, I think it's kind of like not swept under the rug. I think it's becoming more, you know, people are being more open to talk about it. And, you know, the more you talk about it, the better, you know, you feel. I feel better when I talk about it with people, even though I'm scared to talk about how I'm feeling, or, you know, I want to keep things held in, or I don't want to be a burden to someone because I'm, you know, feeling a certain way. And then, you know, when you're struggling with mental illness, you don't want to put all your shit on other people, because then sometimes they're like, oh, I don't want to hang out with them because, you know, they're always upset or they're depressed or, you know, they're not that happy. So like, you know, you don't want to be a burden. So then you pretend, you know, to be happy, even though you're struggling. So, you know, but yeah, with May being Mental Health Awareness, I wanted to, you know, just make a video and, you know, put it out there, you know, again, that I also struggle and it's okay to talk about it. And, you know, if someone needs to talk about it with me, even if I don't know them, you know, I'm comfortable talking to them and I'll do everything I can, you know, to help them out.
Yeah. I feel like I also had a friend a couple of years ago take his own life. And I feel like the biggest shock is when they don't say anything to you prior, you know, because it's like your very first thought, or at least mine was, and I'm sure, you know, something in this wheelhouse was yours, is like, I wish I could have known. I wish I could have done something, you know, I wish I had, you know, because I would have taken the time if you had have asked me, you know, like if I had known. And that was the biggest shock to me as well, was like that was one of the funniest people I knew, like the most like best moods, like all these great jokes all the time. Like the last person I would have expected to be suffering from depression and that level of mental illness. And, you know, it's like, yeah, you know, you're sad when that person leaves your life, but you also think like, Jesus, the pain they must have been going through completely silently for so many. Yeah, exactly. And they never said a word. And it's like, that message, I think, is so on the nose and so important. It's like, you got to tell people if you're feeling like that, man. Like, people will listen to you. You'd be so surprised the depths at which people will go to like give a shit about you. You know what I mean? Like, they really will. And especially, and I just think it's great when people like you say this stuff too, because people see athletes, MMA fighters, especially, as people who are, or maybe they regard them as people who should be impenetrable to this stuff, like they should be completely immune to it, and nobody's immune to it. It doesn't, no matter how hard you can hit, you can be sad and anxious, and it's totally fine. And like, everyone feels that way.
It's okay to be sad. And I think that people are scared to admit that they're sad. And that makes me sad because, and even like with, like, again, my cousin who was a male, like, I think it's a male thing, like where
For
men,
sure.
they can talk about it, or, women are overly emotional. She's just emotional. It's her hormones, it's this and that'll pass next week. Like, it's sad that there's like these stigmas to things like that. And it's too bad because it's like, I would do so much to, be able to see my cousin again and, value our time more, even though like I did while he was around. But it's like, you think, wow, you're 22 years old and you have no idea how much someone's struggling, and, the things you would have done to, just be there for them, even if you didn't even know, give a little more effort or try to be around them a little more. So if I can, I don't have a big platform, but, I obviously hope that someday I will, and I can voice how I'm feeling and like get it out to people. And, I eventually, will get there. But even with the small platform I have, there's a lot of amazing people who have reached out to me, and I've been, lucky enough to share and talk to people how I'm feeling. So,
well, I mean, even if it's one person, even if one person hears you,
yeah,
it's worth it, And you have to think too, it's like, we're like 2 or 3 generations away from like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and like, just get on with it. And like, don't think this. And like, and with women, especially, it's like, oh, she's just, it's probably that time of the month, like lock her in a room. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of stuff, that kind of stigma, that those kind of thought processes are not very far away from us as human beings. And like, we're only just, as we become like a kind of a community globally, because we're all like so interconnected now, I think we're only just starting to advance into those kinds of thoughts where it's like, no, it's cool. I feel that too. You know what I mean? Like even when you grow up, like you meet people that have the same feelings that you do, that go through the same things as you do. And it's like, it's pretty universal being like bummed out. But when people are bummed out to the degree that, you don't want to feel the pain anymore, so you take your own life, it's like, there's resources, there's things you can do, because like nobody wants you to do that. Nobody wants you to hurt yourself or harm yourself, like no one. And if you don't feel like you have someone, I promise you do. I promise you, even if there's somebody that you don't think would give a shit, they will. If your life is on the line, they will. So I do think it's important to just keep banging that drum. And like you said, like your platform, however big or small, I think it's important to keep banging that drum, because even if one person hears that and goes like, all right, I'm not going to kill myself today, then that you saved a life, so that's huge.
Again, yeah, it's a crazy, wild thing. And I know, like, it's, again, I just wish people could talk about it more. And I know that even myself, like, I don't talk about it all the time, but I know that when I do talk about it, I feel better when others can tell me that they can relate. And then I think like, all right, I'm not the only one who's struggling, or the only one who feels this way sometimes, or feels overwhelmed, or, depressed, or is anxious all the time. So when others relate, it makes you feel better, and that you're not, this crazy person just like living inside your mind.
Right. And I would also say, like, you and I can talk about it because it affected our lives. I would say to people, don't wait until that happens. Definitely be proactive about it, because like, you never know what someone's going through. And it doesn't matter if they have like, I mean, it was so, I related to it so much in your video when you said, it's like, even the people I'm closest to don't know when I'm like not feeling, 100%, or if I'm anxious, or if, on my way to training, I had to like pull the car over to like take a few breaths. And I'm like, damn, man, I thought that was just me. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, you just show up to where you're going, you get on with your day. You know what I mean? And it's like,
yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah. You're like screaming inside your head. Yeah. But that's, that's not just you. And it's not just your average person walking down the street. Like, everybody's going through some shit, especially this past year. You know what I mean? I think we should all take time to think about that. It's like,
suicide rates are up, like alcoholism and like so much. It's sad because we were so locked in, and people who needed resources weren't able to get those resources because COVID, and it's hard to do, I'm sure, a virtual AA meeting or a virtual NA meeting, or, try to reach out to someone when you can't. Sometimes you need a physical hug, or you need, a person there with you. And with COVID, it kind of like kept people from being able to be around each other. And, that it was sad. And like I said, like suicide rates were up and so many things were up, and just addiction and death. It was just depressing.
There's so many insidious side effects, even for, I'm sure, the mentally healthy. You know what I mean? It's like, I felt pretty good going into 2020. And, it's like, I struggle with anxiety. That's my main thing. But the second that like the lockdown started up, like it was just like, boom, through the roof. So I can't imagine what people, and I wasn't even that worried about like me getting sick or whatever. It was just like all the different things you're thinking about. And then like the insidious side effects of being locked in your fucking house. And I kept making the joke of like, this is great. I love being inside. Nobody loves being inside that much. Like nobody.
Me too. At first, like, cool, I'll get a few days off work. It's going to be 2 weeks. We're going to be sick, like vacation. Nah.
1 year later. Yeah. I mean, for sure. And like, if somebody went into 2020, whatever country or state or whatever you're in listening to this, if you went into 2020 not doing great and 2020 fucked you up, like, that's okay. Like, that fucked everybody up. So if you're still here, like, good for you. And like, we all still really want you to be here. So like, talk to somebody if you're sad.
100%. Talk to anyone. We're cool.
Yeah, we're here.
I think like you just talked about some of the real and the bad side effects of COVID and what happened in the lockdown. But I do think, and I'm not a glasses half full type of guy, but for this I will be, I think us being isolated for so long, right, has made the discussion of mental health and the awareness of mental health that much more present now. Yeah. Like it doesn't feel like it's a taboo thing. It's like, hey, like we all fucking have it, man. Like we have not had human interaction in a year. And if you couple that with someone who had mental health, who had, problems with their mental health before that, like it was an awful time. So would you say that what's happened over the last year, like Zoom and everything that's going on, did it make it more palpable for you to like talk about it for the first time instead of talking in front of a room of people?
Yeah, I think so. I think because I festered in my head a lot while I was, obviously in COVID, and then, being on Contender and then losing. And, after Contender, I was super depressed because I just felt like, a lot of hard work that I put in, like I maybe didn't get to train as much or do as much or get out as much because of COVID. And then, I just, was in my own head. So I think after, losing and kind of taking a few weeks to kind of, be upset, I was like, I got to kind of get my shit together. This is my career and I need to stay positive because, people lose and they win and they can come back stronger. You see it more often than not. I mean, like Michael Phelps, for example, like he's someone who struggles with mental health really bad. And, you see him, lose and then win and then come back and do all these like awesome things regarding mental health. And I think just sometimes it's maybe not what I needed at the time, but overall towards the end, it was actually something that I did need and I feel better about. And I feel like, even though I do still struggle to talk about it, I'm becoming more open to talk about it. And I think the more open I am, the more comfortable I'll get and the more, people I can talk to and more people that'll reach out to me. But yeah, it's good. It's good to talk about it. And definitely 2020, I think 2020 probably gave a lot of people anxiety who maybe had never suffered from anxiety before and had no idea what it was like to be super anxious and, be worried about certain things. And then, COVID hit and then they were like, whoa, what am I feeling? What is all this emotion that I'm coming, that's coming through my body? So I think maybe more people are open to relate to, how others maybe were feeling before.
As a person who has gone through his own shit, right? I have never worried about ever before me breathing around somebody that could kill them. Like
outside was poison.
Yeah,
it was like outside is poison. Wait, what?
What? Like literally, you have other people's lives in your hand, and that's a lot. Like that is a lot to put on anybody. And I can imagine, like, if you're already anxious or if you already have these things that are going on, like how that amplifies it. So I think that the positive coming from COVID and quarantine and the isolation is the fact that this conversation that would have never happened in 2019 is fine. Now it's not fine. It needs to happen.
Right.
It's too, because like I think for me, it's like I was always an anxious person. I was always like a worrier. I was always the kid that like when we were all smoking a joint, I was the first one to be like, everybody knows we're high. I'm too high. Like that was always my thing. But then like, yeah, because you're anxious. But for me, it was like I always had this voice in my head that would be like, I could at least say to myself, you're just fucking anxious, bro. Like just whatever. And I that COVID was when I went from being a kind of an anxious person to being someone with anxiety, because the voice just clicked off. And that was it. It was all I was my emotions when I would have and then I started having panic attacks. I started having all this shit. And I'll tell you something, my dad has had both a panic attack and a heart attack. And he recommends a heart attack because panic attacks are fucking horrible.
My dad had a panic attack for the first time on Thanksgiving, and he thought he was having a heart attack, and he went to the hospital and they said, no, you're having a panic attack. And he called me and said, because he knows I suffer from panic attacks. He was like, I've never felt anything like that in my life. And now I know how you feel when you have a panic attack. And he like, people don't know how to relate. And then when something like that happens to them, like, especially of that age, they think, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. But then they say, panic attack, you didn't have a heart attack. And then he thinks, holy shit. And then he knows like, wow, this is what you suffer and you have happen to you all the time. Like, that's scary.
Yeah, it feels like it's more like a brain attack than a heart attack. If they call it a brain attack, I think it would get better press because it sucks. It's like the worst thing in the world. I'm like, fuck, I'm having a brain attack. And I could feel him coming. I could feel him coming from down the street. And I'm like, here it comes. And then I'm gone, and it's just like, oh, it's the worst. And it only, especially you feel like you make it to like 28, 29, and you're not suffering from any it's like, okay, good. I'm not a schizophrenic. Like, I think I've made it past the years where like that might happen. And then you start getting these and you're like, come on, man. That's not fair. I thought I had like a good 10 years before I started having to worry about shit like this. It's the worst. Yeah, it's like in everything. And the physical symptoms that manifest themselves too, you're like, this is a heart attack. This is a fucking heart attack. And it's like, no, probably not, bro. You're 30.
So there's not only treatment, but there are also organizations that are out there that promote the discussion of mental health, and they're advocates for those that are going through something like a mental health event. And I think one of them that I saw on your Instagram was always check on the homies. So tell me a little bit more about that organization, other mental health organizations that you've been working with since your video that you posted on Insta.
So Always Check on Your Homies is a nonprofit that all of their money that gets made from, purchases and, shirts and whatnot, it's Always Check on Your Homies. It goes to, people who are struggling with mental health. So they have a bunch of different organizations. One is for young kids suffering who have tried to commit suicide, and then they, go into a home. But yeah, so it's, it's not money that goes to them. It's all goes to mental health, and it's nonprofit. And, I love what they're doing. I love that it's Always Check on Your Homies, because it's, it's a cool way to kind of feel comfortable to talk about mental health. And, like you should always check on your homies. So I kind of think it's made a more open way to kind of, put mental health out there in like a nice way without it being like, something that always is like suicide or, depression. It kind of puts in like a more not fun, but like kind way of, saying, you should always check on your homies, call them up, let them know that you love them and they're important.
Yeah, it feels like it's just like a mainstream way, but in reality, like this is the most mainstream of conversations to have, right?
Yeah.
Don't let people that you care about or anyone go without hearing from you for a day or two. Like if you because I always think about that, and I don't want to go too far down a rabbit hole, but now especially with like technology, right? You can go weeks without talking to people, to grandparents, to aunts, to uncles, right? And like when I saw Always Check on Your Homies, I got to be honest with you, the first person I called was my Nana. I hadn't talked to her in 4 days, and I was like that resonated with me. Like
your Nana can be your homie. That's okay.
Yeah, like you just never want to go a day without, like you always want to know, like at the end of the day, that everyone that is in your circle knows how you felt about them, right? And knows there.
Yeah, and it's true. Like it makes me want to call my dad and tell him I love my sister. My friends, like I have friends that I, maybe talk to all the time, but don't see. And like, sometimes I just maybe haven't talked to him in a few days. I'm like, oh, how is my friend Candace? How's she doing? How's my friend Chelsea? How's this friend? How's that friend? So it does. It just kind of gives you like a reminder, just check on them, say, what's up? Hey, how are you? Or just, make them feel important that you're thinking about them. It doesn't have to be anything crazy.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to kind of to talk about that. Is that, listen, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, but like in reality, that's something that we should focus on all the time. And if you know someone that you think is struggling, or that maybe you don't even think so, just check. Hey, how are you? Goes a very long way in this day and age, especially in the day like when we're all just so attached to Twitter, Instagram, everything that's pulling us away from talking to each other. Like a nice text, like, "Hey, what's up? How are you?" It goes a long way.
Media stuff brings on depression, where people feel like they have to live up to the expectation of what social media says, or dictates or puts out there. Like, people feel like they have to live up to whatever their friends are maybe doing, and then feel like they can't. I don't want to reach out to them. I'm not doing what they're doing. I'm not as successful. I don't own a house. I don't live here. I don't do that. So I think media is a lot of part of that too. So shoot them a text, give them a call.
That's why I like Twitter better than Instagram, because Instagram's got a bunch of really beautiful people doing fun shit with filters, and Twitter's got a bunch of idiots that made me feel better about myself. Because what?
People say I never use Twitter. Like, I have
to get on there.
I mean, Dave is the biggest heel from the MTP podcast on Twitter. Hey, everyone, he just goes after everybody, which I love. That's the best way to do it. But it's like
sometimes you see something that pisses you off because you're like, "That's a stupid thing to say. I'm going to say something about that." I try to carry myself in like that in real life, also, just for the record.
Yeah, that's fun. You make it fun, and you go after the right people, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I feel like you say I'm a heel, but I'm going after the bad guys, Mike.
Yeah.
Right. So I have not really a bone to pick with you. This is the only transition I know how to do, Hilarie. So like, I apologize for the cold open, but I was listening to a podcast with a certain Mr. McCarthy that you were on, and you may have mentioned that it was your favorite podcast to be on.
Okay, no. It's what's so funny is after I thought about that too. And I was like, it's not, because it's not my favorite podcast. I think my favorite part about his podcast is what he does regarding mental health and like how he reaches out to people. So it's not so much that it's my favorite podcast, because no doubt you guys are my favorite podcast. And I that genuinely from my deep heart. What I like best about his podcast is it's kind of for mental health, and he's like really raw and about like his emotions, and he kind of talks to other people about their mental health. So I think that is what my favorite part was. I should be very specific about the things I say.
Mike just wanted to hear that we were your favorite. It's fine. He's good now. He stopped listening to you after you said that.
No doubt are. But I tell my sister all the time, I'm like, man, I love that you set that up with the guys from the podcast. I love talking to them. It's always my favorite part about fight week for the fun. And she's like, it's so crazy. You still talk to them all the time. And I'm like, yes, I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It is like you are the most fun that we have in terms of preparation. I'm not pandering, right? Like, I know that when you come on, we can talk for an hour, and it's going to be fun because you're just someone that A, is easy to listen to, and B, like, says really, really intelligent things and noteworthy things. So that's why it cut me to my core, Hilarie, when I heard that. But,
an hour of my time to anybody else. That was a 20-minute podcast.
We're getting better now.
I noticed that. Right when I saw that it was 20 minutes long, I felt fine.
Yeah. I don't give a lot of time to a lot of people. And you think I'm cutting weight right now. How difficult that is. I want to give my time to anyone else.
Yeah, Mike, leave her alone, Mike.
Well, hold on. Like, when you win this weekend, right? That's 2 weeks. That's 2 fights in a row that you talked to us while cutting weight. So it feels like we've started a trend here. You can only talk to us during weight cutting weeks.
Yeah, it's good. You can in, good vibes, and maybe it's good luck.
Yeah. I knocked too. So the last thing we're going to talk about, last question. So you have CFFC 97 coming out on May 29th. What is the outcome?
Yeah. The outcome. The thing is, I think that it either goes to a decision or that I choke her out. My coach is over here.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't think it goes to a decision. The thing is, I don't want it to go to a decision. I think maybe 3 rounds tops. I don't think it goes to a 4th round. And I think that it's going to be harder to finish her on the feet. I do think that. I mean, if I can time things well and hit hard. But I think if it goes to the ground, that no doubt I either get some sort of submission or a TKO.
When you kicked the legs off that other girl, my downstairs neighbor said they thought there was an earthquake. So if you choke her out, I feel like I'm going to have to like, maybe I'll send him a note beforehand or something because I went berserk.
But, maybe I'll kick her legs out like I did the other chick. You never know. She moves a lot. She moves right into that leg kick.
I feel like last time we talked, you were like, I got some stuff up my sleeve. You know, I'm not going to tell you everything. And then you did that shit. I was like, that's what she was talking about.
You're not wrong. That is what I do have a few things up my sleeve too. So,
oh my.
That heavy front leg, that girl likes to come in on. So,
if this was the WWE, that would be your catchphase.
That's right.
Oh, that's it. That's the one.
I mean, I knew you were going to win. I just didn't know it was going to be that way. Like that, I watched that video. I literally texted Dave and I was like, holy fuck. She won by TKO with leg strikes. Like, what is happening?
I was just like, kick.
Right before that, I was like, those are starting to add up.
Yeah.
I knew they were heavy on that leg for sure because she wanted to grapple me and I could see that she wanted to take me down. So I knew it was there.
Couldn't do it.
Well, Hilarie, thank you so much for taking the time to join us again. You can make sure to watch Hilarie Rose versus Elise Reed for the CFFC Strawweight Championship on May 29th. It's CFFC 97. You can follow her at Hilarie Rose MMA on Instagram, not really on Twitter. But please, make sure the most important thing that happened on this show was if you are feeling a certain way, talk about it. Never, ever feel ashamed of your feelings or what you're going through. Mental Health Awareness Month should be mental health awareness every month, right? So thank you so much for taking the time. So for DK Sizzle, Dave Clarke, I am Michael Marcangelo, and this was Missing the Point.
Hey, it's Tim from 50 Years of Music with 50-Year-Old White Guys, the comedy podcast you had no idea you needed. Join Ben, Jeff, and me as we continue our musical road trip back through the years and around the globe. See, just when you thought all white guys were like Joe Rogan, you come across 3 educators trying to remember when we were cool.
50 Years of Music with 50-Year-Old White Guys.
Electricast. Hey there, fabulous souls. I'm Stephanie Baklaan.
And I'm Eden Alpert.
And we're the hosts of the brand new podcast, Unapologetically Fab.
Get ready to join us on an amazing and real journey as we dive into life after 40 and own it.
We're all about changing the narrative, leaning into who you are, and living a life by your own design.
Join us as we embrace life unapologetically and redefine success.
This is Unapologetically Fab,
an Electricast production.
See you there.
Electricast.